All right, everybody, welcome to Saturday at the Sport Card Expo. My name is Josh Madigan from the Hockey Cards Gongshow Podcast. Very honored and excited to be joined by Mr. Glenn Anderson, Hockey Hall of Famer, and six-time Stanley Cup champion. So let's give Glenn a welcome. Nice round of applause, please. So how's your experience so far been at the Expo?
It's been incredible. Welcome, everyone. Good to be here, and this is quite the show. I've never seen anything this big before.
So this is your first time?
Well, at something this large. The
Okay.
first time here in Toronto doing something like this, definitely. So very excited about it and just overwhelmed. This is like crazy.
Well, it kind of gives you a sense of the health of the sport, like, you know, this being the biggest hockey card show in the world. And what I like to do when I get the opportunity to talk with former players like yourself is to go back in time a little bit. And I can't imagine, well, let me ask you this first. Do you remember the first time you saw a Glenn Anderson hockey card?
No, I don't remember the first time, but or the first signature I did, because I think you're more concentrating on, making the hockey team first.
Sure.
And being part of it and blending in with the old timers.
Oh, I can imagine that. Now, I don't know if you've had a chance to walk around a little bit and check out either the cards or memorabilia, but part of me thinks that if in 1980 you knew what some of this stuff would be worth today, that you might have been the last guy out of the locker room and taking some stuff, either storing your own stuff away or some of your teammates. Does it surprise you how how desired and collectible and valuable some of this stuff has become?
I think I'm intrigued by the old stuff, the old cards and the old jerseys and sweaters that came along the route, like a Cyclone Taylor or
Sure.
Going back to the early days of the first players or the first hockey card. Those looked really intriguing and very interesting. I mean, I think it's saturated at this point in time. There's so many different companies involved and cards involved, and I don't know how you can pinpoint exactly what you want, but I'm sure there's traders out there that know exactly what they're looking for.
So I have a hockey card podcast that I do with friends, and one of the things we do it twice a week, and in each episode we start off with the Get to Know Your Hall of Famer segment. And so we started with the very first Hall of Fame class, which was in 1945, and then show by show we just go and profile every player, because one of the cool things from my perspective about the hobby and seeing a Fred Cyclone Taylor card, or starting with the very first set in 1910, is you get to learn about who some of these people were and how they laid the foundation for what became the NHL, and then gave you the opportunity to have the career you had, and then how you contributed to lift up the league for the players of today.
And that's intriguing to me. So the history and knowing the players back then is like very interesting, because they basically laid the groundwork of where we are today. And I mean, compared to other sports, I still think that the players have got a long way to go. So do the salaries and the salary cap. I think we're kind of at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the way the athletes are, and in realm to everything else, to football players, to baseball players, to basketball players. I think hockey is like still on a lower part of the totem pole.
Yeah, a lot of talent though right now. Do you follow the game still pretty closely?
Ice hockey?
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah, I watch about 4 or 5 games a day, and still do some work with the New York Rangers. And
oh, good.
So yeah, I'm involved.
Who are some of the young players that you appreciate their game?
Well, you got to go with the home. Oh, I'm from Vancouver, so Celebrini's pretty good. Bedard's pretty good. They got a couple other up-and-coming kids. There's a 14-year-old player out there right now that's going to be pretty good down the road. I think the kid that's in Penn State right now is going to be a threat down the road,
Sure.
too. I think he's going to go first overall.
So I have kids in hockey, and every year their feet get bigger, they grow in size, and I get the annual tradition of going to the store and spending way too much money, where sticks are $400 now, and the skates are somehow lighter than a pair of shoes. And I've asked this for other players too in the past. If there's one piece of modern equipment that you just look at and say, if I had this when I played, holy smokes. Is there something that stands out to you?
I don't think there's anything that stands out, but I know my mother, because I would come back with bruises on my arms and my knees and my hips, and because we didn't have the proper equipment. So what she would do is she would sew padding into my material, and now that's what they're using. So back in the 70s, when we were playing the game, she was already, like, if we would have patented that, that's what I wish that we would have done, because we would have been doing a lot better than we were. But she was making pads back then for protection, and because she knew how badly we got bruised from the wooden sticks and the way the game was back then.
You know, as I was spending some time and reflecting on your career this morning and yesterday, one of the thing that I think that struck me is, you know, obviously you were a great player. You're in the Hall of Fame, and you contributed to a great degree to your team's success, especially in crunch time when it mattered most. But, I'm from Minnesota, so it's kind of where this is coming from. But you also had the great fortune of being on amazing teams. And I kind of try to put myself in your shoes and think, you know, in the moment when you're, you know, just thinking about, you know, your career and being productive for your team, were you able at all to ever have a moment of reflection and just kind of pinch yourself and say, you know, how did I end up here with all the, you know, being a great player myself, but with all these other great players as well?
I don't think you really, you don't pinch yourself, but you, and you don't take anything for granted for that. I mean, a lot of players take things for granted, where they make it and they're happy.
Yeah.
And then their career goes sideways. But in our team, in our era of the 80s, we were all the same age. So Jari Kurri is here. Esa Tikkanen is here.
Yeah.
Paul Coffey's in the neighborhood. You got guys like number 99 and number 11. I don't even think you have to say their name, because they're such huge legends that everyone knows. But the common denominator that we had with everybody on the team as a younger generation growing up is that we had a common bond, and the bond is to protect each other, and the end goal was to drive. We didn't care who scored, who got the assist, how many points you got, how much ice time you got. All we cared about was the W and how to be successful. And at the end of the day, you're playing for that shiny silver cup, and that's what it was all about. So our goals were all the same, and every player had the same thing. It didn't matter who it was.
So if you had the opportunity to walk around, great answer, by the way. If you had the opportunity to walk around and maybe find a card or a piece of memorabilia from a player that you admired when you were growing up and in your formative years in the game, is there a player that stands out? Who's the one guy that you would look for?
Well, everyone knows this, is that when I was growing up, I wanted to play against the best, because I wanted to be the best. So in my mind, when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they had a thing called the Summit Series in 1972.
Yeah.
And there was a player on that team. His name was Alexander Yakashev. And everyone knows, it's common knowledge, that he was my favorite player.
Yeah.
And if they had hockey cards back then of them, which I don't think they did, because it was a communist
there's a few,
country.
like you can find like Tretiak cards.
Can you?
That
Okay.
they weren't produced by like the Topps or OPG or Parkhurst, the companies in North America.
Yeah.
But there are some European kind of, I would call them like card-like, or, you know, maybe little postcards, stuff like that. But those are around.
So that's probably what would intrigue me. I would get something.
It'd be
like
a little
that.
bit of a hunt.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So of course it would be.
yeah, that's kind of the fun of it, though, too,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. I think that is. I mean, that's what the collectors always do. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you for taking the time.
My
Really
pleasure.
appreciate the opportunity to get to meet you and have fun meeting your fans.
Josh,
and
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and enjoy your card show, everybody.
let's give Glenn a round of applause.